Afternoon, everybody. I'm Terry Jaffe, and on behalf of Native Child and Family Services of Toronto, I'm so excited to be introducing Conlin and Alyssa from the Métis Fiddler Quartet. We're so happy to be having our first Facebook Live showcase to celebrate National Indigenous Peoples Day, which is happening on Monday. And all month we've been celebrating Indigenous peoples history. So we're really pleased and happy that you guys can all join us today and to be doing this physically distant but socially close get together. So I'll turn it over to Conlin and Alyssa. If you guys have questions, we'll have time for a Q&A at the end. So you can type it into the comments on the Native Child live stream that you're watching, and we can ask them at the end. Okay, guys, take it away.
Afternoon. You just heard Lord MacDonald, which is a Scottish fiddle tune as interpreted by Ojibwe fiddler Lawrence Teddy Boy Hull, who's one of our mentors. Now, the fiddle traveled from Europe to arrive here in Canada and was captured and claimed as being part of and integrated into many Indigenous communities, and each community and each fiddler had their own way of performing this music and individual take, improvisatory take on each of the pieces of music.
And you know, when you play music alone, that leaves a lot of room to develop it into your own style. In the traditional Celtic way of playing this, in the Cayley kitchen party setting, you would have a group of people seated in a circle, all playing the same tune at the same time. And what that did in that setting was it would make the tune consistent. In order to play together, people need to know the tune and know the same version of the tune. But when that music traveled over here, most often Métis fiddlers would play alone, and that meant that they could develop the tune in their own ways.
So Conlin and I are Métis, originally from the Red River settlements. And we've been in Toronto for
several decades. Yeah, some time.
But we often return home to Winnipeg, our hometown, birthplace, to visit family and friends, and we're lucky to still have that connection there.
So we're going to share a little bit more about Métis culture, and in particular a song to teach you a little bit about the Métis language, the Michif language, which is interesting in its own right, because it's actually a hybrid between Old French and Old Swampy Cree. Now, many Métis have different Indigenous backgrounds, but the reason why Swampy Cree became part of the Michif language is because of the nature of the fur trade, where the people that they needed to trade with spoke often Swampy Cree. And so the Michif language is a hybrid language with two parents from the French from Proto-European language, and the Swampy Cree, which comes from the Algonquian language family. So here we have a song I call Tanchi. And let's just take a moment to greet each other. I'm going to say Tanchi, Alyssa.
Tanshi, Conlin.
But more specifically, this song will also teach a little bit of the grammar structure. So if I wanted to say hi, it would really be like saying, hi, how are you? I would say, Tanshikia. And if Alyssa is feeling fine, she would say,
Namiyoyan.
Namiyoyan. So let's practice that. I'm going to say, Tanshikia.
Namiyoyan.
Okay. Now I'd like to know what Alyssa's name is. So I'm going to say, Tanshinishnakashan. Oh, sorry, Tanshinishnakashoyen, which so the word is, it's actually kind of one word, but the nature of the language is that it's kind of it expands to say an expression. So if I ask Alyssa what her name is, I would say Tanshinishnakashoyen.
And I would respond with Alyssa Nishnakashan.
So the way this song works is I'm gonna try and leave room for you to sing back the words with me. And so I'm going to take it nice and slow, and hopefully this will work. Alyssa is going to sing the responses that you hopefully will be also singing along with us as we go. Here we go.
Sing along with me.
So we'll start with Tanshi.
Tanshi.
Tanshikia.
Tanshikia.
Namiyoyan.
Namiyoyan.
I am fine.
I am fine.
Hello.
Hello.
Tanshi.
Tanshi.
Tanshikia.
Tanshikia.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Namiyoyan.
Namiyoyan.
I am fine.
I am fine.
Time for the tricky part. Repeat after me. Can I say Tanshi?
Tanshi.
Tanshi Nishnikashoyen.
Tanshi Nishnakashoyan.
Conlin and Ishnakan.
Alyssa Nanishnakan.
Remember to say your name. Conlin and Ishnakan.
Alyssa Nanishnakan.
Let's do that again. Here we go. Tanshi.
Tanshi.
Tanshi Nishnikashoyen.
Tanshi Nishnakashoyan.
Conlin and Ishnakan.
Alyssa Nanishnakan.
Conlin and Ishnakan.
Alyssa Nanishnakan.
Whole song, one more time. A little faster now. Tanshi.
Tanshi.
Tanshikia.
Tanshikia.
Namiyoyan.
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 Tanshi.
Tanshi.
Tanshi Nishnakashoyen.
Tanshi Nishnakashoyan.
Conlin and Ishnakan.
Alyssa Nanishnakan.
Conlin and Ishnakan.
Alyssa Nanishnakan.
Very good, everyone. Yay! I like to imagine everyone's clapping right now. So here we have another tune that Alyssa's going to introduce.
So this one is called Robert Sanderson's Cow. And I'd like us to imagine, well, we already have the hot summer day part, but let's be transported onto the prairies, onto a farmland, and pretend we're sitting on the front veranda of a farmhouse looking out at the cows.
Fun fact, did you know that the prairies are statistically flatter than a pancake?
So we're watching these cows grazing out in the fields. And this fiddler, Robert Sanderson, is playing away. And one of the cows is startled, and this poor cow ends up in a hole. So this tune is dedicated to poor Robert Sanderson's cow.
Hey.
All right.
So moving a little bit into the past now, this next tune was actually a song written by a man named Pierre Falcon. And the song tells the story of the Battle of Seven Oaks. So way back at the beginning of the 19th century, there were two major fur trading companies in Canada. The Hudson's Bay Company, which was controlled and operated out of the UK, Great Britain, and the Northwest Company that was operated out of Montreal. And although they were not necessarily hard lines about identity and language for these companies, the Northwest Company was considered to be more friendly to Métis people, who often were referred to as les bois brûlés for the burnt dark color of their skin. And so one day, a group of bois brûlés led by Cuthbert Grant, who are actually buffalo hunters, so they were all mounted on horseback, they captured some traders from the Hudson's Bay Company. These men were from the Orkney Islands, which is way up north in Scotland there. And so the governor of the Hudson's Bay Company in the region, George Semple, was angry at the Métis, at the Bois Brûlés, and decided to raise an army and meet them on Frog Plain. So unfortunately for George Semple and his followers, the Métis were actually quite proficient soldiers. They were on horseback, they were buffalo hunters, they could really shoot, and so when they went and met on Frog Plain, the Métis sent an ambassador to try and de-escalate the situation, try and calm things down. But all of a sudden, a shot rang out. Now, both sides may argue that the other shot first, but in the context of this song, Pierre Falcon says that the governor was the one who said that the shot, who ordered his men to shoot. But when the dust settled, the governor, George Semple, was dead, and Métis consider this to be a victory for them in history, although it's remembered now as sort of a massacre because it wasn't that fair. Anyways, here is Chanson de la Grenouillère.
Chanter une chanson de vérité. 19 juin, la bande des bois brûlés sont arrivés comme des braves guerriers. En arrivant à la Grenouillère, nous avons pris 3 prisonniers. 3 prisonniers des Acadies qui sont ici pour piller mon pays. Étant sur le point de débarquer, de nos gens sont écriés. De nos gens sont écriés. Voilà l'Anglais qui nous attaquait. Nous avons agi comme des gens d'honneur, nous avons envoyé l'ambassadeur. Le gouverneur voulait vous arrêter. Pour un petit moment, nous voulons vous parler.
So the Métis, the Bois Brûlés, they sent an ambassador when all of a sudden a shot rang out.
Le gouverneur qui est enragé, il dit à ses soldats, tirez! Le premier coup c'est l'Anglais qui a tiré. L'ambassadeur, ils ont manqué tuer. L'ambassadeur, ils ont manqué tuer. Le gouverneur qui se bat, il veut agir avec rigueur. Le gouverneur qui se bat, à son malheur agit trop de rigueur. À son malheur agit trop de rigueur. Hey, 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 hey! Hey, 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 hey! Le gouverneur qui se trompe, il veut agir avec rigueur. Le gouverneur qui se trompe, à son malheur agit trop de rigueur. À son malheur agit trop de rigueur. Si vous avez vu tous ces bois brûlés, il a parti pour les épouvanter, étant parti pour les épouvanter. Il s'est trompé, il s'est bien fait tuer. Ah, il s'est trompé, il s'est bien fait tuer. Le gouverneur qui se croit, il veut agir avec rigueur. Le gouverneur qui se trompe, à son malheur agit trop de rigueur. À son malheur agit trop de rigueur. À son malheur agit trop de rigueur.
Hey! All right, so what do we got next on the agenda? Oh, yes, we want you, everyone, to make sure that you have a pair of identically sized and hopefully identically shaped spoons. If they're the same size and shape as each other, that's what will work best. And before we get into teaching you how to play the spoons, Alyssa and I are going to just do a little tune to get you kind of sort of understanding how it works just by hearing and seeing. So I'll let Alyssa introduce the next tune.
All right, so the next set of tunes I'm going to share with you are called the Three Sisters of Camberville. And these were a set of tunes that I learned from a recording of an older fiddler named Granny Fagnon off of a recording that was put together by Anne Letterman, who's an ally in the Indigenous fiddle community world. And so Granny was one of the oldest fiddlers that she recorded at the time, and it is said in the Indigenous fiddle world that when tunes are related, they are called sisters. So these three sisters of Camberville come from Camberville, Manitoba, where Grandy was living at the time and spent much of his life. So here we go. The three sisters are les trois sœurs de Camberville.
So tricky to play the actual spoons. In fact, I had to almost relearn as we went. So this is going to be fun, and I hope that we all get a chance to perform together someday once all this reality of COVID has dispersed. You know, knock on wood. Anyhow, so to play the spoons, let's start by how to hold the spoon. So if we look at what I'm doing here, I've got my pointing finger, my index finger, which I put in between the two spoons, like that. Okay, so the spoons should be separated by your index finger. And the idea is that they're going to kind of stay in the same place when you're holding them together like that. If the spoons are far apart, they're not gonna get the ring, and you're not gonna get the rhythm. So the key is to kind of almost keep them together by holding them close. But you need
you should give them a 360 of your hand. So why don't you turn your hand around so they can see your
so you can see
technique.
You can see that I've got my index finger, again, my index finger, pointing finger. It's in between the two spoons. Okay. And my hand is kind of stabilizing the bottom spoon. And hopefully, and then my thumb kind of tries to keep it all together. So I'm gonna do a little demo here. And it's tricky because it's almost like you got to find a balancing point where the spoons will snap back on the upswing. Even I struggle with this, and I've been doing this for a long time. So if you're having trouble, that's okay, because we're all in it together and we're all learning together. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try and play some rhythms with the spoon, some basic rhythms. So the first rhythm I'm going to teach you, I call it the ta rhythm. And the way I like to think about it is ta is like the heartbeat of the music. It's constant, and you can always go back to that heartbeat. So
Oh, I also wanted to mention, if you don't have a pair of spoons, I will be playing the hand spoon, so you can follow me.
okay, so first the ta rhythm. So I want everyone to learn a little bit about where your hands should be. So the hand that's holding the spoons should be very close to your thigh. And then your upper hand, the other hand that's not holding the spoons, be also, you want to keep them as close as you can while allowing the spoons to. And of course, I'm still struggling to find the point of balance where they can click back up. Okay, here we are. Are we still good? I saw a little bit of an internet connection. Can Terry, can you make sure that or tell us whether we're still online? Are we good?
We're still online.
All right.
A little bit of a slow glitch, but we can still hear you guys.
Okay, so here we go. The ta rhythm. Ta, 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 ta.
Ta, 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 ta.
So to play ta, you're going to strike down on your thigh gently. You don't want to hurt yourself. So ta, 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 ta.
Ta, 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 ta.
So the next rhythm we're going to learn, I call it the ticka rhythm. So you're going to tap down ta, and this is where it gets tricky for the ticka,
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 ticka.
ticka,
Down, up,
ticka,
down, up.
ta, ticka,
Down, up.
ta, ticka,
Down, up.
ta, ticka,
Down, up.
ta, ticka, ta, ticka, ta,
Down,
ticka, ta, ticka, ta, ticka, ta, ticka, ta. There you go. Hey.
All right.
So don't be discouraged. If you're only getting the ta rhythm, the tricky part is actually getting the ticka. And the way that you get the ticka is if your spoons stay close together. So so again, I'm going to show how my hand is holding it so that the spoons are very, very close together. And then but if you're having trouble getting that, don't worry. It's taken me many years of practice, and sometimes I still don't get it. But the lesson for all of you out there when you are learning a new skill is that it's always going to be hard to learn. And you should never give up when you want to learn something. You need to set your mind on knowing that you can eventually do it, but also being forgiving and empathetic to yourself, knowing that it takes time to learn. So if you ever want to get better at it, the real simple trick to learning is the more time you spend trying to learn something, the better you're going to get at it. There's no real shortcut in life. If you want to learn to do something, it takes time, it takes patience. You have to allow yourself to make mistakes, and you have to be unafraid to just do it. So there's my little life lesson with the spoons. Let's do a tune together. Let's do another tune, and we're going to get you to where we encourage you to keep playing your spoons along with us.
So this is actually our last tune. This is the Red River Jig here. And so if you're a jig, if you feel like getting up to dance, then join us in a jig. If you'd like to play the spoons, play your spoons. If you're just gonna bounce in your chair, well, that's all right too. So here we go.
There's a little story too.
Oh, right, yes.
So Alyssa's going to play a tune, and I'm going to tell a story about how the Red River Jig came to be. And this is a legend according to Andy Jajarli, who is a very famous Métis fiddler from the 1970s. There once was a man who came to the Red River area from Quebec. I believe his name was Monsieur Lauterelle. And Monsieur Lauterelle was a fiddle player. And one of the things he brought with him from Quebec, besides his fiddle, was this tune. A tune, they called it La Grande Jig Sainte, which in English translates literally into the big, simple jig. So anyways, Monsieur Lauterelle is sitting at one side of the river, on the Red River, playing La Grande Jig Sainte. And on the other side of the river, there's a Scottish man playing the bagpipes. And you know, the French and the Scots, they get along great. So what the bagpiper started doing is he started making fun of Monsieur Lauterelle. He started playing different rhythms and melodies based on what he heard. And so back and forth across the river, Monsieur Lauterelle and the Scottish bagpiper continued to exchange tunes until a new melody emerged. And it's a tune that we call the Red River Jig. Hey, so that is the Red River Jig.
All right, I think we're ready for some questions. If there's any questions for us, yes. After
Well, some applause too. Some actual applause, and I know.
Oh, hold on a second. We just need to reestablish our audio connection. So if you don't mind me, I'm going to play something that will bring our audio back so we can hear the questions. Sorry for the technical difficulty.
just play something on iTunes.
Yeah, that's appropriate. Oh, you know what the problem is? I deleted all my.
Just turn them on and off. Maybe.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
You have to turn them on and off.
Sorry.
Or unplug your computer speakers or something.
Oh, I'm sorry, everyone. This is oh, they fall asleep. Okay, I'm sorry.
Or just unplug them so you have the audio from somewhere else. Speakers. Just unplug the speakers and have your computer.
Can you guys hear
I
us?
think hello, Terry. Can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Terry, are you muted?
No, I'm not muted.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna. Can you see the screen? I'm gonna type a couple questions box.
Here's what we can do. Why don't you retype the questions for us, and we'll try and respond, and maybe my audio will revive.
Well, why don't you unplug your speakers and just have it go through your computer monitor?
Sure. Terry, can you hear me now?
I can still hear you. Can you hear me?
I can finally hear you, and I apologize to everyone for that.
Oh, that's okay. I've had a couple questions, so that's good because we've had a few folks. Well, first I wanted to let you know, because you probably couldn't hear me say it before, lots of applause and like big hearts and smiles in the Facebook live like chat space. So I know folks were really enjoying listening to you guys today. I know I really enjoy that. I learned lots of things, so like very informative, but also really entertaining. I'm glad that you offered some kind words, Conlin, about how long it might take to learn to use the spoons, because probably I'm going to be at it for a few years. Very awkward, but lots of fun, and thank you guys for all of that. We have a couple questions from some of our community members watching. So Jayla would like to know, how long did it take to learn to play the songs?
That's a good question. Well, first, it actually depends on the song. Some songs take longer than others. Typically, and it also, yeah, typically I would say a couple weeks.
I think, if it was for anyone, let's say, imagine that you wanted to learn to play a song or sing a song. Let's take what we learned in the spoon lesson and let's apply that to this. So it takes a while to learn the technical skills that you need in order to play the instrument first, and that can take a long time. It could, to learn to play an instrument is a very personal thing and could take years, right? So starting with learning the basic skill of playing the instrument, that is one step of learning to play the tune. And then learning to play the tune will depend on some factors like how well you can remember the tune. The rule being that if you hear something and you can listen to it and learn to sing it, once you learn to sing that tune, then you can take to your instrument and learn how to play the tune on it by using your ear and your memory. So the amount of time that takes is infinitely variable depending on who you are and how dedicated you are to learning first the skills, such as learning to play the instrument and learning to recognize and memorize and learn those melodies. So really, when you think about it, there's no real answer to your question. But when you want to learn these things, the best way to learn is to actually break things into smaller and smaller parts so that you can actually learn them. It's really hard to just say, I'm going to pick up the guitar and I'm going to learn to shred like Steve Vai or something like that. You're not going to be a person to know nothing and pick up the instrument and play like someone who has spent their entire life, many decades, playing it. So you have to be kind to yourself and gentle when you were learning these new skills, and sort of approach things in little pieces so that you can really know those things and build your knowledge as you go. So not only does this apply to learning music, but it also applies to learning other skills. Like, I went back to school recently to study law, and I'm still learning how to learn. So if I can offer encouragement, I'd say you have to be really kind to yourself. Always be patient.
Awesome, thank you. Another question was, it's kind of similar to this one. How long have you guys been playing for? Or when did you first start playing?
So I started when I was 3 years old. We both started around the same age, in fact.
Well, my journey is a little different. Why don't you share your journey and I'll share my journey?
Yeah, so I've always been playing, well, not always, but I started on the violin, and I pretty much have always kept up the violin as my main instrument. I also play the viola, which is slightly larger than a violin, but played the same way. And I actually have I went to school all the way through high school, continued on to university, and even got a doctorate of music playing. So it's been a long life learning.
A lifetime. So for me, like the guitar, I first picked it up when I was about 12 years old, and I've always like it's not a talent I have. It was always about persisting to try and learn how to play the instrument. But one of the gifts that I have as a person is I discovered at a young age that I could sing, and I strongly believe that even if people think they can't sing, everyone's got a voice. We all have the physical apparatus that allows us to sing. It actually becomes a question of learning skills and developing those skills. And yeah, I definitely had the benefit of learning music from an early age, but it doesn't matter how old you are. The thing is that if you're willing to put the time in, you can learn. And it's just a matter of the more time you put into learning a skill, whether that's music or something else, the better you're going to be at it. And at the bottom, again, I guess I'm just repeating myself, but it's about love and passion. And if you really love to do something and you have the passion to do it, just do it.
Awesome, thank you. We can feel the love and the passion when you guys are performing. So one final question, which is how do each of you plan to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day?
Well, I am going to, let's see, on Monday, I will be working, but part of my work is an amazing project that I'm doing to develop an information guide for Indigenous artists in areas such as law, business, and ethics. So my way of celebrating will be to be proud that I have this project that I'm hoping will help other artists to develop their careers and you know, make my contribution in that way. If we weren't living in this strange time, I would probably be at Fort York dancing in the, well, maybe not dancing in the powwow, but definitely attending. So like, well, although we're living in strange times, we can remember that it's still possible to do meaningful things for each other, for our communities, and to stay connected. Remember, like Terry said at the beginning, to be physically distant and be safe that way, but keep socially connected. Be in touch. Call your friends, and that's how, you know, that's how I choose to celebrate.
Well, I'm going to be having sort of a quiet day of rest and rejuvenation and reimagining of possibilities in this time of not being able to perform but also being able to compose. So I'm working on a composition for violin that is Métis and Indigenous inspired. So I'll be able to draw some inspiration during that time.
That's great, guys. Sounds like you both have found a way to make the best of a, you know, difficult situation. It's been a hard time for some folks, and my heart goes out to them. But we also, I think, have been able to maybe find a chance to find a gift during this time of COVID. And it sounds like you guys have found yours. So that's it for our questions today. I just want to thank you both so much for being here, and on behalf of Native Child and Family Services of Toronto, really appreciate you joining us today on our Facebook page for really what was very entertaining and highly informative show. So Chi-miigwech, and thank you so much.
Merci, thank you. Miigwech.
Thank you.